With the nerf to Super Dragons, let's give you 3 of the best Town Hall 13 armies that you might want to use regardless of your skill level. First things first, we actually have a low amount of people who are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you guys want to see more quality content like this and never miss an upload, consider subscribing and ringing the bell. It really helps a lot. Now this first army is the GoWiWi, consisting of golems, super wizards, and witches, but not only that, 8 earthquake spells. Pretty much the bases that you're trying to look for need to have very simple pathing moving through, so like a rectangle, but you should also try to look at the Inferno Towers. That is going to be one of the biggest things. If they're all set to single, that's awesome, but if they are set to multi and they are all scattered around, that is going to be a big problem. We're going to first start with 4 earthquake spells. This is going to be opening up the beginning part. You don't need to open up any unconnected wall segments. Don't worry about that. But you'll then send in your main portion, your golems alongside your super wizards and witches all along one side. Pretty much what you'll then do is you'll send in your log launcher with your king, queen, and grand warden on one side. Try to look for an area that the log launcher doesn't have to wait in order to break through a wall, but the other side you should use your royal champion. Now of course, while this is going on, you should use an early Grand Warden ability to protect the log launcher alongside your troops, but you should also deal with the enemy CC, such as the super minions in this example. You'll then use the final 4 earthquake spells on the back end. The main job here is to not only get to the back end, but to also possibly damage the town hall. Don't be afraid to activate it because the log launcher can still deal quite a bit of damage from a distance on it. So as your heroes and all your troops start to work in, you can have a rage spell for your Yetis, and possibly if you decide on bringing something else like an Ice Golem and P.E.K.K.A, that could also work incredibly well too. Pretty much at the end of this, you really just need to make sure that you're able to easily move through the back end. So having a lot of troops can be a very, very good thing. Now, for the most part, the biggest tip that you really want to have is just that base identification. This is a very specific army for a specific type of base and can work on a good amount, but it really depends on the pathing and also Inferno Towers and where the splash buildings are. Now this is my personal favorite army, Surgical Edrags. It's a hybrid between spam such as a GoWiWi and surgical like a Lalo. Pretty much this is a really good army for those of you who are not yet really comfortable with using surgical attacks but still want to use something that takes a little bit of planning. Now while this is my favorite army, it is not as my favorite as those of you who use my creator code CORRUPT before purchasing anything in any Supercell game. It's greatly appreciated and it helps my channel. Now not only that, but in order to start this attack off, you're going to use the Flame Flinger. Doesn't matter if it's an Inferno, a Town Hall, or just a group of defenses, you're using it to clear one corner of the base. Try to use a balloon because they try to defend the Flame Flinger with Teslas. All the way on the other side of it, you should use Raged Up Edrags. You should only use at max 2 rage spells at most, and at least having 2 to 3 or at least 2 Edrags on that side. Now on the third corner, you should use an Edrag to create a funnel, such as this Edrag over here. So pretty much you just want to make sure that you're clearing out 2 different corners of the base with 2 Edrags, and then 1 corner with your Flame Flinger. In this stage, this is pretty much your step 2 of the army. You want to use your rage spells. This is going to help you push your Edrags through. You should have at least 2 rage spells for them. And freeze. You're going to use these against high HP or high DPS units, such as the Archer Queen, the Royal Champion, CC Super Minions, and of course any sort of big key defenses like Inferno Towers, Scatter Shots, Expos. Those are things that are going to really whittle down the HP. Now, what does make this a little bit easier is you don't necessarily need to wait on your Edrags to die out to send your heroes in. Once you've gotten a good amount of the path, you can then go ahead and send in your King, Queen, and Royal Champion. Usually, I would highly recommend sending them in where you sent the Flame Flinger in. You don't want to send them in where you didn't have any open wall segments. Open Open wall segments should give you the notion to send your heroes in. And of course, your royal champion you should use to go for any core defenses or any defenses that are going to be out of range of your heroes. You can also use the free spells as you work yourself across, making it incredibly easy for you to have the royal champion move her way across, but also easily being able to clear the rest of the base with your heroes. So just make sure you don't make my mistake of sending them in not where the wall segments are opened. Now, the Blizzard Lalo is one of the hardest and one of the most surgical attacks in Clash of Clans, and this is the exact same base you saw at the beginning of the video. If you have watched this far, then I do congratulate you. Pretty much, the attacker here saw that there was a lot of chain from this bottom section of the base. There was a lot of good value too, like the Eagle and Scatters, but mainly the enemy Queen and CC. That is what you're always looking for in a Lalo. So using a Lava Hound to tank for the Blimp, and then using the invisibility and rage spells. A very big tip of advice, if you want to get the most from your super wizards, is try to time your invisibility spells. It's going to take time. If I only know, it took me a lot of time to actually get comfortable with it. But once you start to get comfortable with timing your invisibility spells, you'll be really good. Pretty much, it'll get you a lot of value just like this. Removing the CC and the Queen makes it super simple. So pretty much what the attacker has done is removed this entire area, but they're not done. They can clear even more of the base with the use of the heroes. Sending in a couple ice golems can also help in terms of tankage if the king doesn't go in, but you do want to make sure that you have a little bit of funneling, such as maybe a couple minions, to at least help path the queen and or king into the base. So for those of you who don't really understand what a Sui hero is, it is a suicide hero, where you send in your king and queen and royal champion into the base to remove buildings and then letting them die. That's pretty much the name of the game. It's just sending them in, getting some value, and getting out with heroes. So at that point, you can also send the royal champion in to remove more buildings to make the pathing easier, but you're then going to send your Lalo in. Typically, how I like to see Lalo is try to predict the pathing of the Lava Hound so you can get the most amount of tankage and knowing where you can send your balloons. Pretty much, in this case, he sends a large group in with the Warden and then just a couple smaller groups before spamming them in with the second Lava Hound. That's pretty much all you have to do. It's not like you have to do all too much and all this planning and surgical placement that you see pros use. No one's really going to be just like them. So, you can easily use a Grand Warden ability, and especially when you're using balloons, you need to protect them from the Town Hall bomb. So, using the Grand Warden ability will help a lot, or else they'll go boom like a couple of those. But you do also want to make sure that you use haste to get them to those buildings quicker. A very big tip of advice is bringing in the headhunters to remove any enemy heroes such as the royal champion or queen that are on the other side of the base that you didn't remove. But you should also use cleanups such as the minions and lava pups, which will help you with cleanup as well, but you do want to make sure that you're doing that, and if they do kill off the enemy royal champion and or queen, then that could really help you a lot. And hopefully this video helps you understand kind of each of the armies and especially how you can adapt depending on your playstyle and also skill level. But not only that, but if you haven't checked out my video on tips for every single clan capital troop, I would highly recommend checking it out right here. And also the subscribe button is right here. Consider subscribing and ringing the bell. I will catch you in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.